Flinders St Station is the heart and soul of Melbourne, recognised by everybody. The clocks, the dome, that grand facade. Meet me under the clocks, quintessential Melbourne. It's not just a train station, it's part of the city's identity, Melbourne's front door. But it's had a long, complicated love-hate relationship with this building. For decades, it was seen as old, inefficient, even ugly, a liability. And incredibly, it came dangerously close to being demolished. Not once, not twice, but many times. Massive office towers were planned here, car parks, shopping centres. Not just proposed, approved and ready to go. Plans that today we almost know nothing about. Plans that were real and government approved, and yet have almost vanished from public memory. The fact that it still exists today comes down to pure luck and timing. So how did this happen? What were they thinking? And ultimately, what saved this icon from the wrecking ball? You're never going to look at Flinders St Station the same way again. Let's dig in. The story begins in 1854, when this site was known as the Melbourne Terminus, a ramshackle collection of buildings beside newly laid rail lines on the corner of Flinders and Swanston. By the 1880s, it was bursting at the seams. Melbourne was booming, and the station could no longer cope. A design competition was held, and the winning entry came from architects Fawcett and Ashworth. Demolition began in 1900 and construction took 9 years. This striking image shows a massive steel girder being dragged down Flinders Street by a huge team of 50 horses. And here, one of the clocks being installed. The station opened in 1909, an immediate success. Melbourne's pride and joy. The grand architecture reflected the city's ambition, power and wealth. Marvellous Melbourne. At one point it was the busiest station in the world, with more than 200,000 people passing through daily on up to 1,500 trains. Just 15 years later, in 1925, the first call for redevelopment came from the Town Planning Commission, but nothing came of it. The years passed, and after World War II, a roof over the yards was discussed. That idea as well went nowhere. But buildings fall out of fashion. By the 1950s, Flinders St Station was over 40 years old. Public perception had shifted. It was called an eyesore. Old, inefficient, shabby. Not modern by world standards, and a remnant of the past. Cars were the future. Rail wasn't. Investment poured into roads and freeways, not so much into rail. And Melbourne was demolishing its past, building by building, block by block. This was the era of the wrecking ball. The Melbourne Olympics in 1956 accelerated this push. And there was much hand-wringing by planners and entrepreneurs about making sure the city was seen as modern and futuristic. Grand historic buildings disappeared. The fish markets, the Federal Hotel, the Australia Building, the Queen Victoria buildings and Queen's Arcade, and many more, all demolished. Flinders St Station sat on some of the most valuable land in the city, and the clock was ticking. In 1962, entrepreneur Herbie Jones gained government approval for a proposal that would have changed Melbourne forever. The clock tower would be demolished. Much of the station would go with it. In its place, a huge 60-storey office tower, Melbourne's tallest, a shopping centre and a 1,500 space car park. A new concourse along Swanston Street, the rail yards roofed over, even a so-called scenic drive along the Yarra. Work came close to starting, and then nothing. Flinders Street Station survived, but only just. Good news. The bad news? The much maligned gas and fuel buildings were built instead. I believe this was a master plan to replicate its built form right down Flinders to Queen, taking the station eventually with it. Thankfully, it didn't happen. If you're enjoying my video, I've got plenty more coming like this, so please subscribe to my channel. Thank you. Surely that would be the end to these plans, right? No, it wasn't. Herbie Jones returned with Melbourne Properties with an even bigger plan. 2 massive office towers, up to 32 stories high, built directly over the station. The dome and the clock tower would stay, everything else demolished. Once again, it didn't proceed. Not because of strong protection, heritage controls were weak or even non-existent, but because of pure luck and circumstance. Soon after, in 1974, this massive redevelopment plan came in for Transport House. It didn't happen. More good fortune. By the mid-1970s, public opinion finally began to shift. The wrecking ball had destroyed so much of Melbourne's urban fabric. The focus turned to conserving and retaining, not demolishing. The National Trust gained influence. In 1974, Victoria passed the Historic Buildings Preservation Act, the first of its kind in Australia. The station was classified by the National Trust and added to the Heritage Register, as were many other of the city's treasured buildings. But did that stop the big redevelopment plans for the station? No, it didn't. In 1981, a 15,000-seat music arena was the idea of rock and roll identity Michael Edgley to go over the station's rail yards. Soon after, the government funded a badly needed renovation, but a paltry $7 million, even for that time, achieved little. And as recent as 1989, this was to go over the platforms, the festival marketplace, huge fake pillars styled to look sympathetic to the station's architecture, and a large shopping mall. Thankfully, that didn't proceed either. In 2013, the government ran an international design competition to completely reimagine the station. It attracted huge interest and many bold ideas. All concepts kept the grand old station fully intact. This was by Wardle and Grimshaw, which included a design museum. This radical design by Zaha Hadid and BBN. Architects Ashton Raggett McDougall included a school and a rooftop garden. The People's Choice Award went to 3 young Melbourne University students, Velasquez, Pineda and Medina, which featured this huge urban park. The winning entry by Hassel and Herzog and de Moron, with these vaulted roofs and this stunning amphitheatre. But with no funding, no master plan and no government commitment, this was the last we heard of it. More recently, over $100 million has been spent on an upgrade to the station. Upgrades to entrances, platforms, toilets and information displays, and a magnificent meticulous restoration of the exterior. 29 kilometres of brickwork cleaned and repointed. 700 windows restored. The clock tower strengthened. LED lighting installed, hidden completely from view. The craftsmanship, staggering. The station now stitches back into the city like never before, with a new Town Hall metro connection linking seamlessly. De Grey's subway reopened, and the world's busiest trammed corridor right out the front. The Swanston Street concourse we see today came from a renovation in the 1990s. Its plain drabness is quite jarring in comparison. The platforms also tired, and this stretch of Flinders down towards Banana Alley Vaults remains quite run down. Today, Flinders Street Station remains a storied icon, a rough diamond, still loved and still unloved. And history tells us something important. The proposals will always come back. In a city that's seen such dramatic change, it's only a matter of time. The clock's still ticking. So what happens next? What do you think? Let me know in the comments. I'll be exploring much more of our lost and forgotten past, all hidden in plain sight. Let's go on this journey together. Please like and subscribe.